We are here with the Dallas International Film Festival with Dean DeBlois, and he is here representing How to Train Your Dragon. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well. It's exciting.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you. So, fantastic story. What brought you to Dallas?
Well, we are being bestowed with the Tex Avery Award, which has been won in the past by Brad Bird and Henry Selick and Chris Wedge and Pete Docter last, well, not 2 years ago for Up. So that is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that. We were super excited to have you. And Pete was here last year.
Yes.
And so that was great to talk with him and everything. Now, you also worked on so many different movies and, you know, Lilo and Stitch, Mulan. I mean, where do you get started with your storyboarding or your, you know, writing or even how to direct it? You know, what are some of the elements that start those initial, you know, sparks and then take that through the rest of the film?
We just sit down. The first thing we do is just say, what would you pay to see? What are you really excited about with this concept? And it's completely wide open, and we just spitball ideas, and we try to latch on to moments that feel really compelling or really emotional, and then from that we begin to build a structure on top of it. So you get into the tougher questions after that, you know, the why him, why now, you know, why do we care, what does he want, what does he need, all of those structural elements. But it always starts with a big, cool idea. For example, when we came on to Lilo and Stitch, it's based on a book, a kid's book, and up until that point, they kept trying to adapt the narrative of that book really directly, which is about a 10-year-old kid and the egg that he picks that yields the runt dragon as well. So he's a runt Viking, runt dragon, and he was only about the size of a chihuahua. And we thought, well, if this is going to be a movie about a Viking that befriends a dragon, shouldn't it be a really cool dragon and one that he could crawl onto the back of and fly? So it wasn't enough just that you would have a character flying a dragon, because we'd seen that with Aragon and we'd seen that with Dragonheart, and so we felt like, well, maybe he rebuilds it. Maybe it's a damaged dragon, and so he could be part organic and part mechanical and with petals, and so that immediately felt cool to us. And so we had little ideas like that, just visual ideas that we would expand on.
You know what I love about that is that a lot of kids identify with that. You know, they identify with maybe I feel broken or I feel not right or not normal or something. So in part of that, you know, they have little takeaways, and I think it's just so it almost ministers to them in a way. You know.
Yeah, and especially with the ending, we thought at first there was some concern, like, can we really hurt Hiccup in that way? Because we took off his leg, you know, and gave him a prosthetic, and there was some concern that would just be too heavy, that, you know, that parents or kids would find it traumatizing. And we found it was just the opposite. When we tested the film, parents rose to defend that moment because they thought it said something really important about sacrifice, you know, for the greater good. And, you know, everything, you kind of lose something to gain something of importance. And even there was a kid in the audience who was about 8 years old who put up his hand, and he said it was sad because Hiccup lost something, but then he gained so much more. And we thought, wow, like, if it's resonating with that core audience so well, then the message is there, and it's right, and it feels, it's empowering. You know, here's a kid who lost his leg, but he's no less of a hero for it. In fact, more so. And now he and his dragon complete each other.
And, you know, I think themes like that, you know, as well as some of the other themes in the movie, you know, just about judgment and really embracing kind of your neighbor, even though they might be, you know, your enemy, who you thought, or even going into Mulan about just believing in yourself and all that you can be. You know, some of those themes, people have really, you know, taken those and it's really, really helped them. I know, for instance, my sister, Mulan's her favorite, you know, because of that. And I just think that the empowerment Disney and so many of the animated features have such a great responsibility and to help build kids up, and especially since a lot of kids just gravitate to that.
Well, there's definitely something that we discovered on Mulan that we've carried through all the way to How to Train Your Dragon, which is it's very easy to do a character who looks around his or her environment and say, oh, you know, they're old-fashioned, they've got, you know, stupid ideas, and so I'm going to strike out on my own and do my own thing. And it's actually kind of a selfish motivation. So it's much more heartwarming, and you root for a character who wants to, you know, who wants to belong, who's trying, and they're not equipped to do so. Mulan wasn't equipped to be, you know, the China doll that her society demanded of her, and Hiccup's not equipped to be the brawny Viking that his society demanded of him. And so in the struggle of wanting to be like everyone else, they discover that their own quirk makes them powerful and unique. And so it's about celebrating weaknesses that others might perceive as weaknesses that are actually hidden strengths. And I think that's an important thing to put out there, that we're all different in some ways. And some of those things that we beat ourselves up for are actually maybe our greatest strengths in disguise.
Yeah, and we don't really realize how already equipped we are for what we are supposed to be and what we're supposed to do. And I think that that's just a phenomenal message and theme to be able to give and impart into children at such a young age.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I love celebrating the unique quirks that make us all different. And we can use these movies to really do that, in a fun way, in an engaging way, and in a heartfelt way. To have a character who's so struggling to assimilate and belong, only to discover that they have the ability to change their world, and to be celebrated for it.
Awesome. And I think some of the creativity also has to be imparted on, because so many times when I'm watching these movies, and just enjoying so many of the thematic elements and the messages and the things that are imparted, I'm also enjoying the creativity. I'm enjoying, oh, that's hilarious, How, in your creative meetings, what are some of the things that you guys go through? Or do you guys have toys that you sit there and, hold like koosh balls? How is that, describe that, the development process?
Well, it's certainly a goofy environment where pranks and just joking around is encouraged, because it kind of helps. And we're always looking for a funny way, like what would be a really good joke, because ultimately you don't want to be didactic. You don't want to tell a story that's purely about heartfelt theme and whatnot. You want to have fun doing it.
That balance.
Exactly. So we're always looking for funny ways to get the story across, and inventive ways as well, so it doesn't feel like you've seen it before. So yeah, I think even with the toys, I mean, certainly in Dragon we had model airplanes that we kind of fly around each other, even to get like the choreography of some of those scenes worked out. But every cubicle you go to in the DreamWorks studio, you'll find tons of toys decorating everything. We're a lot of nerds and geeks, and we applaud each other for it.
Do you, when you first start thinking of a story and it's hatching in your brain, do you think, I don't know if this one's going to fly, but I love it, and I just want to, take it on?
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole hopper of ideas that are just glimpses, just moments that I think would be really amazing to see in animation or to see in film in general. And I think you collect those, you kind of carry them around with you, and you try to find them, you try to repurpose them into the stories that you're working on. And occasionally, you get an opportunity where someone says, hey, do you have an idea? And you can pull out one of these ones and say, I love this, and I would love to see this made into a film. And you get a bunch of creative people around you, and suddenly it takes form, because everybody sees the potential of it and they carry it.
Yeah. Now tell me about this, though. With a lot of stories that we have and glimpses and everything, when you start shopping around, sometimes they get, turned down really fast. John Lee Hancock was here last year with The Blind Side, and he talked about how he shopped that around for forever until Brian over at FedEx decided to go ahead and invest in it. There are a lot of also future animators coming up, so talk to them about some of their great, brilliant ideas, what they do when they get shot down, How did they overcome that? When to let go? What is some advice you can give them?
I think you need to have such a thick skin when it comes to your own projects and being in the filmmaking industry as a whole. An example for me would be, fresh off of the success of Lilo and Stitch, I took several ideas that I had for live action films, and I went to various studios and I set them up. They bought the ideas with me to attach to write and direct them. And I spent the better part of 3 years on one of them, writing all of the permutations of the script, watching people's enthusiasm grow with the script, and then get to a point where there was a change in the president of the studio, and suddenly everything that previous president had put into production was cast aside, and mine went with it. And so it was such a high and a low, and I think you kind of learn through experience that you can't give up on your idea, that the idea itself is still great, and if you believe in it, you have to be its biggest champion, because so much of this industry is about luck and timing, and whether or not a studio has a big healthy slate, or they can only make a couple movies, and what the trends are, and so much of it is a variable. But if you believe in the thing, you will see it happen. You have to make it, you have to bring it into being, and there's a lot of persistence that goes with it, a lot of a lot of letting no's wash over your back and be very resolute about staying creative and optimistic about making it come to be.
Yes, absolutely, and I think very well said. That's very true to all of the characters that we've discussed and some of the themes that you have too. So it's awesome to see this legacy that you are leaving, you know, and I think that it definitely helps others, and you've definitely brought such a wonderful collection of work to so many lives. So thank you for that. Congratulations on the award, and we're so happy to have you in Dallas.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Everybody go see How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch and Mulan and countless others. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you very much.